I've heard that raising challenging kids, the stress of raising challenging kids can be very similar to combat. And I'm not surprised by that. As a matter of fact, I was reminded of this recently as I flew out of Boise, Idaho. And there's a military base at the same airport in Boise, Idaho, where they store uh, and they train what are called A-10 Warthog military airplanes. And these airplanes are basically, and I learned this from one of the pilots, are basically a big giant gun with a plane rack around it. And that's how he described it. And it was really interesting because me and a bunch of young men got to go and talk with some pilots and kind of tour the facility. And one of the young men asked the pilot, "What is the hardest thing about flying an A-10 Warthog?" And he said something that surprised me, and I think it surprised the kids too. He said it's not flying the plane, because flying an A-10 Warthog is kind of like flying any other airplane, any other military airplane. He said, but they do something unique in the A-10 Warthog that they don't do when they train you to fly other airplanes. And he said what they do is, because the A-10 Warthog is such a potent military weapon, the enemy, if there are planes in the sky of multiple kinds, but there's an A-10 Warthog, they're trying to get that A-10 Warthog more than anything else because it can do the most damage the quickest. And so it is the target. It's always the main target in military warfare when they're in the sky. And he said that you've got guns on the ground trying to shoot you down, and they're aiming for you. There can be 10 different kinds of planes in the air, and they're aiming for the A-10 Warthog, as well as the air military is trying to shoot that A-10 Warthog down because of the damage it does. And he says, so what they do to the pilots is they do something they call task saturation when they're training. And what that means is they'll get a pilot up in there and they're training him, and they'll give him instructions in one ear and then opposite instructions in the other ear. And both of them are different than what their mission was to begin with. And then they'll mess with their dials, and then they'll fly all kinds of planes around them, and they'll put them in. They'll basically do what they call task saturation. And what that means is so much is going on, and they're trying to freak these guys out, these pilots. And their goal is to focus on the mission that they were given, not to necessarily listen to this side or watch what's going on, but focus so much on their mission that they get their mission accomplished. Because these planes are highly attacked when they're in the sky, and they're going to get a lot of feedback. So they're trying to put them in a heightened situation, in a stressed out situation, to see how these pilots react, because they need to know that these pilots can focus in on what needs to be done when crap is going. When the crap hits the fan, these pilots have to be laser like focused on their mission. And it reminded me kind of how, I've got multiple kids. I got 6 kids. Some are passive aggressive, some are aggressive aggressive, many of them are aggressive aggressive. I've got a daughter, I've got, all kinds of different personalities in my family just among my kids. And sometimes it feels like I'm flying an A-10 Warthog. Right? I got one kid over here doing this, another kid over here, 2 kids fighting over there, just all these different things going on. And it's really important for us as parents to be able to focus on, to kind of mask out all the noise and focus on what we can do as parents to help support these kids in the best way possible and do it in a spirit of love. So, the one thing I might recommend from this video is pretend you're an A-10 pilot and you're getting all kinds of crazy, because when they're at their worst, when these kids are at their worst, is really when they need us at our best. So it's hard to practice that, but the next time things tend to start going wrong in your home, try to focus in on what you can do to make it better and how you can support these kids in the spirit of love, and make that your laser focus, and try to ignore the rest of it and watch what happens. And that'll be helpful. So hopefully that helps. We'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.